Season's greetings, art journalers. Welcome to the studio. I have a little holiday treat for you today. Tomorrow I'm embarking on a creative project, creating a small 12 days of solstice art journal. It's part of an online class that I'm taking. And today I needed to do the prep work to get my little journal ready. So I decided to go with a handmade journal filled with Nittigan paper, which is lightweight but surprisingly strong, has a beautiful creamy sort of color and little flecks of brown and gray in it and a lovely texture. I had long sheets that were scraps that I had cut off from binding another book, and I always save those scraps because they make great little journals. And then I also had some sheets of watercolor paper that were already painted and made up with designs, and I do that every once in a while. I'll spend a day with several large sheets of watercolor paper and just decorate the fronts with acrylic paint and inks, and then let them dry, and then have them in the studio for when I need a cover for something. And so I had some to choose from, and I liked this color scheme, sort of celestial, sort of night sky with sort of the gold and the whites in this season of solstice where the light is waning, but then will reemerge after the actual solstice on the 21st. I decided that I wanted a torn edge, so I used my decal ruler, which has the deckled edge on it. It's over here. I can show it to you actually. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these before. It's a ruler, a straight edge, and it has, of course, measurements on it. But see this side that's all sort of irregularly shaped? You can put that down on a piece of paper, hold it tight, and then tear your paper and get a deckled edge. So I decided that that's what I wanted for the edges of the cover and the edges of the book. And then I just did a very sort of an abbreviated pamphlet stitch with some sort of rustic twine. I wanted this to be sort of a sort of have that rustic, homemade, earthy kind of feel to it. And I decided that instead of having the cover fold over, which I do a lot because it gives it added strength, and you can also make that into a pocket, I decided I just wanted the edge, and I wanted to glue down the first sheet in the signature of folded papers so that when you opened it up, you had a double spread to work on, and at the end, same thing, a double spread. So what I'm doing, I have no idea what the prompts or assignments will be as the 12 days of solstice go on from this class. It's the first time I've done it. And but I do know that one of the suggestions in the introductory email I got today was to just scrub in and scribble in a background across your pages. And that is always a good way to start an art journal because it takes away sort of the fear of that blank page, of ruining things. It gives you a layer to start from. And I decided to use a certain color schemes. I have gold and blues and sort of a copper color. I move a little bit into greens. And I decided that sort of a spiral or circle pattern as a sun symbol would be something that would go throughout. Now, when I actually get to the journaling part, when I'm collaging and painting and doing all kinds of things, who knows whether any of this background will even show? I don't. But at least I have something thematic to start with, and I have something that carries through the book. So here's my center spot where I have my twine that's holding the book together at the binding. And I thought I would just show you, how I begin and how easy and fun this is to do, and what a great way it is to start your journaling pages. So I'm using a couple of things. I'm using a bunch of F&W pearlescent liquid acrylic inks, and I'm using a lot of Lumiere, that's Jacquard is the company, metallic acrylic paints. And then I have some gold metallic paint. And I have some some Utrecht Artist Acrylic Medium. It's illuminating medium, which has a bit of a pearlescent, like micaceous flecks in it, which I'm just going to put some in here. And this Nittigan paper is not terribly heavyweight, and it's not really even supposed to be for wet media, but it takes wet media reasonably well. But I want to keep the actual water that I use sort of down to a minimum and be using acrylic medium to thin the paint down and make it more transparent, because I don't want to fill up the paper too much. I just want sort of a transparent, shiny background just to give me something to work out of. So let's just see where I am. I've gotten some orange and greens, and prior to that some blues, and then I get into some warmer coppers and golds. So maybe it's time for me to sort of move back into something a little bit more gold. So this is that F&W pearlescent. I'm just going to put some of it. Oh, the stopper doesn't. Usually you can pick some up with the little eyedropper thing, but this one is not working properly. But I have just a piece of gray disposable palette paper here, and I'm just going to start with some of that illuminating medium. And I'm just going to start very loosely, very intuitively, moving some of the paint around. Doesn't really matter where it goes. I like to make sure that I have a nice strong crossover the gutter or the seam where the two pages come together, because I want a unified look. I don't want it to be like this page and this page are separate. I want this to be a single spread. So there's a first layer of paint. And let's see, I think I will continue with warm colors. This is birdwing copper. Same thing, F&W or FW. I don't know if there's an and in there. Pearlescent acrylic ink. And I don't have a paper towel here, so I'll just squeeze my brush off. And I'm going to start to bring in that sort of circular, the idea of circles. So that to me is like the wheel of the year. It's a solar symbol, different sizes, maybe, you know, a dot in there. And then I feel like I need to bring in something that contrasts. So either that's going to be either something cool or something dark. I think maybe I'll go with something cool. This is again a pearlescent FW acrylic ink. It's Surf's Up Blue, I think. It's written very tiny. So just putting some of that out on my palette and get some of that illuminating medium, because I don't want these colors, I don't want them opaque at all. I want them really transparent, because who knows what I might want to do on top of these. So this is not the final product, and like I said, I don't even know if some of this, any of this, most of this, all of this, none of this might show through, you know, when I'm done. Here's a bigger circle, kind of second layer almost. So there's one. There's one spread, and that's, oh, one more thing. See, it's good. You look, and that's like, oh, I need a little bit of blue right there just for balance, because I have this darker, darker, darker. See that? So that just really jumped out at me. So that's the very first layer of what will be a multi-layered art journal spread. And then because this is a solstice, this is about the solstice, this whole project that I'm doing. Now I'm not going to be able to find it. I have some spray-on glitter that I like. That one's empty. This one is empty. It looks like this though. It's called Shimmer. I don't think I'm going to get anything out of this. Oh yes, I will. It's meant for paper. Nope. Oh, maybe a little bit. And it sprays on, and it's not heavy glitter. It's just a little bit of a sheen. So that's on there now, and that will dry. So that's one way to start, just using a brush. And then other things I did, this page is still wet, so I'm not going to be able to turn it and put it down. But I also like to use the scraper and put drops of paint on, and then use the scraper. Let's see if I can find a good place where maybe you can see that. Probably like here. So I dropped some paint on, and then I pulled it across. I hope you can see how that line of paint, you know, was created. So that's another way that you can just start. So I'll be posting, you know, what I'm creating in my 12 Days of Solstice journal. It has just 12, page spreads, and it's a small size. It's approximately 5¼ by 6. So it's an easy, compact size. It'll be easy to fit in doing this during the busyness of the next few weeks. And I hope you enjoyed seeing that. I hope that if you've never journaled before, you'll try. And if you have been journaling and have always been sort of frozen by the blank page syndrome, that you'll try just, doing this, just very freely moving paint around on the surface to get yourself going. So make some time this holiday season, despite the busyness and the darkness, to be creative.